Okay, welcome in one all. Now I'm going to be reviewing all of Thursday and Friday's action of the NHL season. So starting with the team that you see on your screen, the Montreal Canadiens took on the Detroit Red Wings. In the first period, Mike Matheson would kick things off for the Habs, getting an even strength goal just over 7 minutes into that frame. Assisted by Alex Newhook, he would get his fourth assist on the season, and Matheson would get his third goal of the year so far. So it was 1-0 for the Habs after the first period. In the second, just a lone goal, Fischer would tie things up in favor of the Red Wings, getting his first goal of the season. Assisted by Rasmussen, get his third assist, and Sherratt get his fourth assist of the season. That happened with just about 3 minutes and 15 seconds left in the second period. In the third, just over 25 seconds into the frame, Nick Suzuki would get a power play goal, his fifth of the season, assisted by Mike Matheson, who would get his sixth assist, and Sean Monahan would also get his sixth helper as well. JT Compher would then score, no assists on his, just over 6 minutes into that third period. His third goal of the season, an even strength goal at that. Took until overtime to decide a winner, and Goal Caulfield, as everyone likes to call him, would get his fifth goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Matheson, who would then get his seventh assist, and Nick Suzuki would also get his seventh helper as well. That happened about 45 seconds remaining in the overtime period. So 3-2 is the final score. With the victory, the Habs have now stopped their 4-game losing streak. They are now sitting at 6-5-2. And while the Red Wings lost, they're still above 500. They have 7-5-2 as their record thus far. The next matchup takes place. Just got to load up the screen. In Massachusetts, where we have the host Boston Bruins, who have been playing unbelievable, and they were taking on the New York Islanders. The final score in this matchup would be 5-2 in favor of the Bruins. In the first, Frederick would get his third goal of the season, just about under 6 minutes remaining in that first. An even strength goal from James Van Riemsdyk, his fifth assist, and Charlie Coyle would also get his seventh assist on the season so far. Nelson would tie things up for the Islanders over 3 minutes after that on the power play. He would get his sixth goal of the season, assists by Dobson, who has 8, and Barzal, who has 7 assists so far. So it was all tied up in 1 heading into the second period. Just a lone goal to speak for in the second. Charlie Coyle would get a power play goal just over 6 minutes into that frame. His third goal of the season, assisted by Zacha, who now has 5 helpers, and Pasternak, who has 9 assists so far. So it's 2-1 for the Bruins heading into the third period. Holmstrom would get his fourth goal of the season to tie things up for the Islanders, assisted by Pajot, who would get his fifth assist. It was a short-handed goal, just roughly 3 minutes into that frame. Pasternak would then get a power play goal 10 plus 30, 43 seconds after that. He would get his 10th goal of the season, assisted by Shattenkirk, who would get his third helper of the year, and Brad Marchand would assist, but now it's not showing me how many helpers he has in the season, but either way. So that would give the Bruins a 3-2 lead. Charlie Coyle would then get his fourth goal of the season. That would happen at the 9-minute, 26-second mark of that third frame, assisted by Van Riemsdyk and Frederick. Charlie Coyle would then get another goal, his fifth goal of the season, with about 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining. Is assisted by Pasternak, who would have 10 helpers, and Marchand would have 7. So with the 2 assists, Marchand has 7 helpers so far. So final score is 5-2 in favor of Boston. With the victory, the Bruins have improved their amazing record to 11-1-1, and the Islanders are sitting at 5-4-3. Next matchup takes place in New York, where we have the host New York Rangers, and they took on the Minnesota Wild. So the team should be appearing on your screen as we speak. So the 4-1 would be the final score in this one in favor of the home team. In the first, Vincent Trocheck would kick things off roughly 4 minutes into that period, an even strength goal, his fourth of the season, assisted by Lafreniere and Eric Gustafsson. So it was 1-0 for the Blue Shirts after the first period. Duhaime would tie things up 12 and a half minutes into that second frame, an even strength goal, his third of the year, assisted by Faber and Hartman, 5 and 4 assists respectively between those two guys so far. So it's all tied up at 1 heading into the third period. Lafreniere would then give the Rangers a 2-1 lead, a minute and 41 seconds into that second frame. His 5th goal of the season, an even strength goal at that, assisted by Panarin, who now has 14 helpers, and Trocheck, who has 5 assists so far. Blake Wheeler would finally get his first goal as a member of the New York Rangers on the power play with about 5.5 minutes remaining in that period, assisted by Cooley, who would have 2 helpers on the season so far, and Lafreniere would have his 4th assist as well. Panarin would get his 8th goal of the season, a minute and 21 seconds remaining in that third period, to increase the lead to 4-1. Even strength goal at that. Vincent Trocheck would add an assist, his 6th of the season, and Jake Trouba has 4 helpers as well. So 4-1 is the final from New York. With the victory, the Rangers now improved their record to 10-2-1, while the Minnesota Wild are sitting at 5-6-2. The next matchup takes place in Ontario, where we have the host Ottawa Senators, and they were taking on the Vancouver Canucks. So 2 teams that are obviously going in 2 different directions. The Canucks seem like they are a legitimate team as of right now, while the Senators are kind of floating around that 500 mark. So they're not playing as well as I'm sure that they would have hoped for. The final score in this one would be in favor of the away team, as the Canucks came away with a 5-2 finish. In the first period, just 15 seconds in, Brock Besser would get his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Di Giuseppe, who would have 3 helpers, and Hronek, who has 14 assists so far. Mikheyev would then increase the lead to 2-0 at the 3-minute mark of that first period, his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Pettersson and Kuzmenko. Batherson would finally get the Senators on the board with a minute and 45 seconds remaining, his 3rd goal of the season. There were no assists on his score. So it was 2-1 in favor of the Canucks heading into the second period. Zub would get his 2nd goal of the season, roughly 11 minutes into that frame, an even strength goal from Kelly and Highmore. JT Miller would get his 8th goal of the season, assisted by Di Giuseppe and Ian Cole. And that goal happened with about a minute and 52 seconds remaining in the third. So the Canucks had a 3-2 lead heading into the third period. In the third period, 9 minutes and 23 seconds into that frame, Mikheyev would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 5th of the season, assisted by Pettersson and Kuzmenko. And then Pettersson would then get a power play goal with just about 6.5 minutes remaining, his 7th goal of the season, assisted by Quinn Hughes and JT Miller. So 5-2 was the final score from Ottawa. With that, the Canucks have now improved their record to 10-2-1, and the Senators have now dropped to 5-7-0. The next matchup takes place, I believe, where are we? In Florida, where we have the host Tampa Bay Lightning, and they took on the Chicago Blackhawks. So the Blackhawks would get the victory in this one. 5-3 would be the final score. Cirelli would kick things off 3 minutes and 20 seconds into that first, a power play goal, his 2nd of the season, from Hagel and Sergachev to give the Lightning a 1-0 lead. Connor Bedard would get his 6th goal of the season, a minute and 22 seconds after that, an even strength goal from Kurashev, so it was all tied up at 1 at that point. Kucherov would then give the Lightning a 2-1 lead, 12.5 minutes into that frame, an even strength goal, his 11th of the season, assisted by Janot and Hedman. Korchinski would get his 1st goal of the season for the Blackhawks, roughly 3.5 minutes remaining in that period. His 1st goal of the season, as I mentioned, assisted by Donato and Entwistle. Tyler Johnson would then increase the lead to 3-2 in favor of the Blackhawks, his 4th goal of the season, an even strength goal from Bedard and Foligno. And Bedard would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 7th of the season, and that happened with about 8 seconds remaining in that first, an even strength goal from Foligno and Kurashev. So it was 4-2 after 1. Only 1 goal to speak for in the second. That was Corey Perry, who would get his 3rd goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Bedard and Foligno, and that happened roughly 2 minutes and 12 seconds into that second period. The lone goal in the third was from Steven Stamkos, who would get his 5th goal of the season, and an even strength goal from Cirelli and Braden Point. That happened roughly 2 minutes and 10 seconds left of the game. And at that point, it was too little, too late to mount a comeback. So with the victory, the Blackhawks are now sitting at 5-7-0. And with the regulation loss, Tampa Bay is now sitting at 6-4-4. Our next matchup takes place in Ohio, where we have the host Columbus Blue Jackets, and they were taking on. Sorry, looking at the wrong one. Yeah, no, wait. They were taking on the Dallas Stars. My bad. There. The Stars would prevail in this one. 5-2 would be the final score. Boone Jenner would kick things off for the Blue Jackets a minute and 8 seconds into that first period. An even strength goal from Gaudreau and Roslovic. Marchenko would then make it 2-0, 8 minutes and 43 seconds into that first period. His third goal of the season, assisted by Fantilli and Bornikov. I should have mentioned too that when Jenner scored, that was his 7th goal of the season so far. Marchment would then decrease the lead to 2-1 with less than a minute after Marchenko had scored. He would get his third goal of the season from Matt Duchene and Tyler Seguin. So it's 2-1 for the Blue Jackets after the first period. In the second, Craig Smith would get his second goal of the season to tie things up for the Stars, 10 minutes and 20 seconds into that middle frame. Assisted by Fasca and Lindell, an even strength goal. Matt Duchene would then give the Stars a 3-2 lead, about 3.5 minutes remaining in that second. His third goal of the season, even strength, assisted by Lundqvist. So it's 3-2 for the Stars heading into the third period. Tyler Seguin would get his second goal of the season, 3 minutes and 47 seconds into that third period. An even strength goal from Lundqvist and Duchene. And then Robertson would get his third goal of the year for the Stars, assisted by Pavelski, with just under 3 minutes remaining in the third period. And that's where the score would stand. So with the victory, the Stars are now sitting at 8-3-1. And with the loss, the Blue Jackets are sitting at 4-6-3. Our next matchup takes place in the state of Missouri, where we would have the host St. Louis Blues, and they were taking on the Arizona Coyotes. Excuse me. Be a very low scoring affair. 2-1 would be the final from St. Louis. So take a look at the goal scoring summary if I can. Okay, it's telling me the content cannot be loaded, so I'll just have to read what I can under the scoring frame. So Sundqvist would kick things off for the Blues, make it 1-0. Assists doesn't show me any of the assists. Krause would tie things up for the Arizona Coyotes, getting his 5th goal of the season. Sundqvist did score his 2nd. I should have mentioned that. And the game winner would go to Rob Thomas, who would get his 6th goal of the season. So 2-1 would be the final score. But unfortunately, it just doesn't tell me what periods they happened in for some reason. So with the victory, the Blues are now sitting at 6-5-1. And with the loss, Coyotes are now back to 500. 6-6-1 is their record so far. Our next matchup takes place in, as long as it's going to load, the province of Manitoba, where we have the host Winnipeg Jets, and they're taking on a team in the Nashville Predators. Okay, so the logos should be up on the screen. Fantastic. All right, so in the first, Appleton will get his 4th goal of the season over 4 minutes into that frame, an even strength goal from Lowry and Niederreiter. Forsberg would then tie things up to about 2 minutes and 40 seconds after that for the Predators, assisted by Nyquist. That would be his 3rd goal of the season so far. So it was all tied up after the first period. Kyle Connor would score to give the Jets a 2-1 lead, a minute and 5 seconds into that second frame, assisted by Scheifele and Iafallo. Connor would then get his 2nd goal of the period, his 10th on the season, 3 minutes and 48 seconds into that second period from Scheifele and DeMello. Perfetti would then increase the lead to 4-1 on a power play, 10.5 minutes into that period. His 3rd goal of the season, assisted by Scheifele and Connor. Forsberg would then get his 2nd goal of the game for the Predators, and that happened about a minute and a half after Perfetti made it 4-1. So then the lead was down to 4-2 once Forsberg scored his fourth goal of the season, and even strength goal from Tyson Barrie, just under 8 minutes remaining in that frame. So it was 4-2 in favor of the Jets heading into the third period. Dillon would then increase the lead to 5-2, his goal of the season, roughly 7 minutes remaining in that period from DeMello and Barron. Tomasio would get his first goal of the year in favor of the Predators, and that goal happened with about just under 4 minutes in that period to go, assisted by Barrie and Del Gazzo. And then Kyle Connor would score roughly 30 seconds after that, his hat-trick, his 11th goal of the season from Iafallo and Scheifele to make the lead 6-3, and that's where he would stand. With the victory, the Jets are now sitting at 7-4-2, and with the loss, the Predators are now sitting at 5-8-0. The next matchup takes place in Colorado, where we have the host team in the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Seattle Kraken. There we go. So 4-3 would be the final in favor of the away team. Kraken came away with a big victory in this one. It would actually kick things off in the first, a minute and 20 seconds remaining. Schwartz would get his 7th goal of the season, assisted by Cardle and Dunn. So it was 1-0 at the end of the first. That happened with roughly a minute and 20 seconds to go. I think I already mentioned that. In the second, Bjorkstrand would then increase the lead to 2-0, 4.5 minutes into that frame. His 5th goal of the season from Olesiak and Larson, and an even strength goal at that. Byram would then decrease the lead to 2-1, about 30 seconds after that. His 3rd goal of the season, an even strength goal from McKinnon and Lehkonen. Beniers would then increase the lead to 3-1, a power play goal, 11 minutes and 35 seconds into that period. His first goal of the year, assisted by Dunn and Schwartz. McKinnon would then decrease the lead to 3-2 in favor of the Kraken. McKinnon would get his 6th goal of the season, an even strength goal from Makar and Rantanen, and that happened with roughly 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the second period. So it was 3-2 in favor of Seattle after 2 periods of play. Nichushkin would tie things up, his 2nd goal of the season, roughly under 8 minutes to go in that period from Taves and McKinnon, an even strength goal at that. And just when it looked like the game might be going into overtime, Bjorkstrand would score with 32 seconds to go in the game, his 6th goal of the season, an even strength goal at that from Tolvainen and Larson. So 4-3 was the final score. With the victory, the Seattle is now sitting at 5-6-3, and even though the Avalanche lost, they're still 4 games above 500. They're sitting at 8-4-0. The next matchup, I believe, takes place in California, where we have the host Los Angeles Kings. They were taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. So Pittsburgh would come away with a victory in this one. It took until overtime to decide a winner, so therefore both teams were guaranteed at least 1 point. Pittsburgh obviously got the extra point because they scored the game-winning goal. In the first, Crosby would get his 7th goal of the season, 7 minutes and 11 seconds into that first. There were no assists on his play. Grundstrom would then tie things up with just under 6 minutes to go in that period. A shorthanded goal, his 5th goal of the season from Kopitar and Matt Roy. So it was all tied up at 1 heading into the second period. Adrian Kempe would get his 6th goal of the season, roughly 10 minutes into that second period, assisted by Mikey Anderson and Byfield. Eller would get his 2nd goal of the year for the Penguins. There were no assists on his, as it was kind of like Pittsburgh's revenge. They got a shorthanded goal as well, roughly under 2 minutes to go in that second period. So it was all tied up at 2 heading into the third. Gensel would get his 5th goal of this season, 37 seconds into that third period from Crosby and Erik Karlsson. And then Kevin Fiala would tie things up 6 minutes and 40 seconds into that third period. His 2nd goal of the year, even strength goal. Dubois and Spence were the primary assists on his goal. Brian Rust would win it in overtime, getting his 7th goal of the season, and that happened with roughly a minute and 15 seconds to go, assisted by Malkin and Erik Karlsson. So with the victory, the Penguins, I believe, are now back to 500, sitting at 6-6-0, and with the loss, the Los Angeles Kings are still very good. 8-2-3 is their record after this loss. And the last game from Thursday, It's also in California, where we have the host San Jose Sharks, and they were taking on a team that is dreadful, to say the least, in the Edmonton Oilers. Just going to take a look at the goal scoring summary. So 3-2 would be the final from San Jose. They would get their second consecutive win in a row, and yeah, both these teams are at the bottom of their standings, respectively. So Zetterlund would kick things off in the first, a minute and 25 seconds remaining, would get an even strength goal, his fourth goal of the season from Thomas Hertl and Eklund. So it's 1-0 for the Sharks heading into the second period. Nurse would tie things up with about 2 minutes into that period, his third goal of the season from Draisaitl and Foegele. Excuse me. Thomas Hertl would then get a lucky bounce just over 9 minutes into that period, getting his second goal of the season from Zetterlund and Okechuk, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. So it was 2-1 in favor of the Sharks heading into the third period. Zadina would get his third goal of the year for the Sharks about 2 minutes into that period, an even strength goal from Sturm and Carpenter. Nugent Hopkins would then make the game interesting, getting his third goal of the season from Bouchard and Ekholm with about 2.5 minutes to go. But unfortunately, the Oilers were not able to mount a comeback. Wow, on this one, and they have suffered yet another loss. So with that loss, the Oilers are now sitting at 2-9-1, and with the victory, the Sharks are sitting at 2-10-1. Okay, so that takes care of all the action from Thursday. And now we'll go into Friday's matchup. There are only 6 games on tap on Friday's schedule. So starting off in the state of New York, where we had the host team, the Buffalo Sabres, and they were taking on the Minnesota Wild. So the Wild obviously playing back-to-back nights, and unfortunately they weren't able to get a point out of either one of those games, losing both of those games respectively. 3-2 would be the final from Buffalo. Joki Haraju, oh my gosh, trying to say that name, would get a second goal of the season for the Sabres from Owen Power. Roughly under 2 minutes to go in that frame, so it was 1-0 for the Sabres at that point. Kaprizov would then tie things up for the Wild with 30 seconds exactly to go in that frame. A power play goal, his 5th of the season, assisted by Boldy and Zuccarello at 1 heading into the second period. Jeff Skinner would score, but it would be a late goal, with 58 seconds remaining in the second. An even strength goal from Patera, his 7th goal of the season, so it was 2-1 in favor of the Sabres after 2. Paterka would get his 6th goal of the season, 3 minutes and 33 seconds into that frame. An even strength goal from Thompson and Skinner, 3-1 at that point of the game. Eriksson Ek would get a power play goal with roughly 12.5 minutes into that period, his 8th goal of the season, assisted by Kaprizov and Zuccarello. So 3-2 would be the score at that point, and that's where it would stand. With the victory, the Sabres are now above 500, sitting at 7-6-1, and with the 2 losses, Minnesota are now sitting at 5-7-2. Back to the state of Florida, where we have the host Florida Panthers, and they were taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. So the teams should appear on your screen as we speak. 5-2 would be the final in this one in favor of the home team. Kotkaniemi would kick things off in the first, a minute and 20 seconds into that first period. His 6th goal of the season from Fast and Martinuk, an even strength goal. Matthew Tkachuk would then tie things up about a minute and 40 seconds after that, getting his 3rd goal of the season from Verhaeghe and Lundell, an even strength goal with him. And Balinkas would get his first goal as a Panther, making it 2-1 with over a minute to go in that frame from Tkachuk and Laura Steinen. So it's 2-1 for the Cats after the first frame. Barkov would then increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 5th goal of the season from Rodriguez and Reinhardt at the 7-minute and 8-second mark of the second. Sebastian Aho would then decrease the lead to 3-2, getting his 3rd goal of the season from Martinuk and Shea at an even strength goal at that. So it's 3-2 heading into the third period. Verhaeghe would then increase the lead to 4-2, getting his 5th goal of the season from Forsling, 13 minutes and 18 seconds into that third frame, and Stellan would then increase the lead to 5-2. His third goal of the season from Reinhart and Barkov with roughly just under 4 minutes to go in the game. So 5-2 would be the final score. With victory, the Panthers have now improved to 8-4-1, and with the loss, the Hurricanes are still at 2 games above 500, sitting at 8-6-0. The next matchup takes place in Newark, where we have the New Jersey Devils, who are playing host to the Washington Capitals. 4-2 would be the final score in this one in favor of the away team. Capitals came away with a big victory. In the first, roughly 10 minutes into that frame, Abu Kubel would get his first goal as a member of the Capitals, would get an even strength goal from Sandin and Milano. Malayston would get his first goal as a member of the Capitals as well, assisted by Abu Kubel and for Harry, and that happened about 15 seconds after Abu Kabul scored. Wow. Try saying that name about 5 times fast. So it was 2-0 in favor of the Capitals after the first period. In the second, Kuznetsov will get his second goal on the year, 6.5 minutes into that frame, an even strength goal from Tom Wilson and Alex Ovechkin. No other goals were scored in that frame, so it was 3-0 heading into the third period. Thomas Meyer would finally get the Devils on the board, getting his fourth goal of the season from McLeod and Marino, roughly 7 minutes into that period. Mercer would then decrease the lead about 2 minutes after that to 3-2, his second goal of the year, an even strength goal from Toffoli and Schmid. And then Kuznetsov would put the game on ice with just under 2 minutes remaining, his third goal of the season from Johansson and Tom Wilson. So 4-2 would be the final score in this one. With the victory, Washington is now sitting at 6-4-2, and with the loss, the Devils are still 2 games above 500. 7-5-1 is their record so far. The next matchup takes place in the province of Ontario, where we have the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they took on the Calgary Flames. Took until a shootout to decide a winner in this one. The home team would be victorious. 5-4 would be the final score. In the first, William Nylander, who has been red hot, getting his goal this season on the power play with just about 3 minutes into that frame. 1-0 at that point in favor of the Maple Leafs. Zari would then tie things up, getting a second goal for the Flames, assisted by Kadri. That happened with just over 7 minutes into that period. And then Yarncroke would then score 1 minute and 16 seconds after that goal, getting fourth of the year, assisted by Domi and Robertson. So it was 2-1 in favor of the Blue Shirts after the first period. Nylander would get his second goal of the game shorthanded, 1 minute 6 seconds into that frame. His 9th goal of the season, 3-1 at that point in favor of the Leafs. John Tavares would then score 3 minutes and 40 seconds after that, an even strength goal, his 6th of the year for Nylander and Morgan Riley. So it was 4-1 in favor of the Leafs. Zadorov would finally get his first goal as a member of the Flames this year at least, decreasing the lead to 4-2. An even strength goal from Mangiapane and Huberdeau, and that goal happened about 50 seconds after Tavares made it 4-1, so it was 4-2 at that point after Zadorov scored. Greer would then get his second goal of the season, assisted by Uyghur and Anderson, and that happened about 12 minutes and 20 seconds into that second frame, and that's where we would stand after 2 periods, 4-3. 3 minutes and 22 seconds into the third, Pospisil would get his second goal on the year, assisted by Backlund and Coleman. So it was all tied up at 4 heading into overtime. There were no goals in overtime. It took until a shootout to decide a winner. And believe it or not, Max Domi would be the hero in this one. So 5-4 is the final score. With the victories, Toronto's now sitting at 7-5-2. And with the loss, the Flames are sitting at 4-7-2. Two more games to cover. One's in California and one's in Nevada. We'll go to California first. So we have the Anaheim Ducks. They played host to the Philadelphia Flyers. You should see the team's logos on the screen as we speak. So A high-scoring affair, 6-3 would be the final score. The away team would become away victorious. So Couturier would get his third goal of the season roughly 5 minutes into that first, an even strength goal from Atkinson and Zumilo. And Atkinson would then increase the lead to 2-0, getting his seventh goal of the season from Sanheim and Forster. That happened roughly 12 minutes and 31 seconds into that first period. So it's 2-0 in favor of the Flyers heading into the second. Belpedio would get his second goal of the year, assisted by Farabee, 2 minutes and 33 seconds into that second period. And then finally, the Ducks would get on the board a power play goal from Karlsson, his fourth goal of the season. That happened on the 13-minute and 15-second mark of that frame, assisted by Killorn and McTavish. So it was 3-1 in favor of the Flyers heading into the third period. Sanheim would get his second goal on the year, an even strength goal from Farabee and Cam York, roughly 7 minutes and 40 seconds into that third frame. Karlsson would then get his second goal of the game, his fifth of the year, from Killorn and Mintyukov to decrease the lead to 4-2, roughly 10.5 minutes into that period. Owen Tippett would get his third goal of the season from Frost. That happened just under 7 minutes remaining in that period, so it was 5-2 at that point. Karlsson would then get a hat trick for the Ducks, so all three goals came from one guy, getting his sixth goal of the year, and that happened with about a minute and a half remaining from Terry and Strome. And then Tippett put the game on ice with just over a minute to go, 6-3, his fourth goal of the season from Sanheim and Lafton. So that was an even strength goal as well. With that, the Flyers are slowly crawling their way back to 500, sitting at 6-7-1, while the Ducks are now just a game above 500, sitting at 7-6-0. The last matchup takes place, like I said, in the state of Nevada, where we would have the host Vegas Golden Knights, who are red hot, taking on the San Jose Sharks. 5-0 would be the final in this one, and this is going to come as a surprise, and the Vegas Golden Knights got yet another victory. So much for that winning streak for the Sharks. They had 2 games that they won, but now it's come to an end. They now suffered another loss. So, taking a look at the goal scoring summary. So Pietrangelo would kick things off exactly a minute into that first period, getting his first goal in the season from Amadio and Stone. Martinez would then increase lead to 2-0, 11 minutes and 19 seconds into that frame. An even strength goal from Amadio and Carrier. So it was 2-0 after the first. There were no goals to report in the second, so it took all the way until the third for the Golden Knights to continue their onslaught. William Karlsson would get a short-handed goal, his 8th of the year, from Eichel and Pietrangelo, 2 minutes and 24 seconds into the third. Alec Martinez would then get his third goal of the season, his second of the game, 4 minutes and 40 seconds into that frame from Pietrangelo and William Karlsson. And Howden would then just add on to the scoring, 5-0, his second goal of the season from Ronberg, and that happened 9 minutes and 34 seconds into that third frame. So with the victory, the Golden Knights are now sitting at 12-2-1,